Hi, I'm Joy, and I would like to talk to you about Plutonian relationships. So, what are Plutonian relationships? If you look at the synastry chart between you and another person and look at the composite chart of the relationship, if there are a lot of aspects to Pluto, if there are a lot of Scorpio or eighth house placements or overlays, if there are a lot of Plutonian influences in one or both charts for the individuals in their relationship, could be a Plutonian relationship. I would say that while you can see this in a chart, you can also see it just in the relationship dynamics, and that might be I'm going to focus more on that than on the astrological component of it for this video. So Plutonian relationships create transformation for the people in the relationships, and they also go through their own stages of death and rebirth, or figurative death and rebirth. The Plutonian relationships that I've had have it's like the relationship stops being whatever it was and becomes something different without ever necessarily having to break up in order to make that happen. Um, and every time there's a rebirth in the relationship is changed. It is a different relationship. And usually that's a good thing. I mean, usually it's growth. It's just like with with an individual, when we go through these transformations, that's growth, that's change, it's evolution. We're letting go of the things that like aren't actually really us and that we don't really need to bring forward with us in life. It's the same with these relationships. So in a way, Plutonian relationships are pretty unstable because there's this constant push for transformation, either of the people or of the relationship itself. And when I say constant, I don't mean like constant, but like recurring. And in a way, they can also be some of the most stable relationships, because for somebody who's very heavily influenced by Scorpio or eighth house or Pluto, their own growth in life, their own transformations are something that it's just going to happen. And if their relationships can't transform and grow with them, then the relationship is only going to work for so long. That's just the way it is. And for somebody like that, a more Plutonian relationship, at least to some extent, might actually be better, because then the relationship can grow with them. So that's one factor of it. Another factor with it is that the relationship itself, like when there's a problem in the relationship, instead of either needing to love it or leave it, the relationship can change. The very like essence of the relationship, sometimes even depending on a variety of factors, can change. Um, Not like the deepest essence necessarily, but more like the expression of the essence. Um, yeah. That's something that can change, or the dynamics between them can change as time passes, and that can actually bring a lot of stability to the relationship, because then instead of needing to break up because there's some big problem, you can just change it. Just let the relationship as it was go, while allowing room for it to be reborn, and then the relationship can turn into something that works better for the future. So that said, there are some things that I've found so far in my own observations and experiences with Plutonian relationships there's a lot of tension. Like the figurative deaths don't happen unless there's something that just isn't working, that feels like it has to work. Like if it were the type of thing where it's like, oh, this isn't working, okay, well, let's change it then. Like it wouldn't be a figurative death and rebirth. It'd be like a little adjustment, you know, a more like mutable energy. But that's not what this is. This is like, it feels like it has to be a certain way, but it can't be that way. And there's this like, you know, painful figurative death, and then there's a rebirth following that. And you know, that can be a kind of exhausting thing over time. Also, not everybody can deal with Plutonian relationships. You know, like I said, people who are plutonium, you know, did I just say plutonium? Plutonian can, you know, they can really thrive in these relationships compared to someone who's not. Someone who's not is still going to get the benefit most likely out of the Plutonian relationship, where it's um, like it causes some transformation and growth in their lives. Um, you know, all of the things that aren't for them in their future kind of just go away. Sometimes this can look like a lot of destruction, but it's necessary in order to become the next thing. This is very much a metamorphosis kind of situation here. So, you know, who said it? What the caterpillar calls death, uh, the butterfly, whatever. You get the idea. There's a bit of a grieving process involved in letting go of the way things were. Um, and and then there's the metamorphosis, and then there's the rebirth. So that is another thing that I would like to discuss when it comes to Plutonian relationships, or anything Plutonian just in general. If you cut open a cocoon, a chrysalis, in the middle of the process, you're not going to see a caterpillar that's growing little wings and um, you know, just changing inside this cocoon. You're going to find goo, because the the caterpillar just disappears, and then something new is created. It's not a, like I said, it's not just like changing a thing. It's an actual like figurative death and rebirth. So um, the important thing to know is that during these times of change, during our metamorphosis periods, it's best to step back, grieve the loss of whatever it was, and be willing to be prepared for whatever's coming. If you're clinging to certain ideas about the way it should look, you haven't really given up the previous stage yet, because you still have attachments to the way you want things to be. So the key is to just step back, release it, let it go, grieve it, and then just be open to whatever's coming. And that doesn't mean you necessarily have to stay in the relationship. Like that's something, you know, you're always free to leave a relationship. It's more just being willing to be pleasantly surprised. And it's also important during these times that whatever baggage you may be carrying around from the past gets healed, gets released, or in IFS terms, gets unburdened. Because if you bring that into the next stage, then, I mean, you're going to have to deal with it then, and then you end up having to go through another one pretty soon. So, you know, do some emotional house cleaning during these times of metamorphosis. And what I have found in my very limited experience on this earth so far is that during these times of transformation, it's actually a good idea sometimes to step back from interacting with the person, to allow the process room to take place. And this can be done in a very loving and supportive and nurturing and comforting kind of way. So I'm not talking about like fix your shit, I'm gone. Like get this straightened out, or that's it. This is over. And let me know when you have it figured out. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about like mutually acknowledging that what you've been doing isn't working, and without like making it a punishment or an ultimatum, just agreeing to just take a little time, whether that's a few hours, a few days, a few weeks, a few months, or maybe you don't know yet. Whatever amount of time, like just take a little bit of time to yourselves to kind of give the relationship a reset. Give it a chance to grieve what it was, and then give it a chance to have this metamorphosis and then rebirth. And sometimes this can happen with an actual breakup. So like in the scenario that I was just describing, it's not necessarily a breakup. You're just like, taking a little vacation from each other, essentially. So you can, so the existing dynamic can be released, and whatever, you're working on individually, you have some time to be goo individually, and the relationship is goo in that period of time. You don't know what it's going to be. It's just goo, without actually saying like we're not together anymore. Or this can happen. There's a part of me that wants to be like super cautious about how I word this. So like if you break up with somebody and you want to get back together with them, this can actually happen with these types of scenarios if you approach it in kind of a similar way. However, you have to be willing to let it go. Like maybe it will have a rebirth. Maybe the relationship will be reborn and you'll be together again and it'll be better than ever. Maybe. But you have to let go and be willing to not have that happen. Be willing to be with somebody else at some point when you're ready. If you're really stuck on it being this person, that can cause a lot of pain for both people. It takes a certain amount of humility to acknowledge that, whatever I think, like let's say I can feel it deep down, like this person is the one for me. You have to be willing to acknowledge that whatever your perception, it could be wrong. And that's a scary thing for somebody who's Plutonian, because that means we have all this attachment energy, like fixed water. That's what Scorpio is. It's all like fixed water is deep emotional attachments. That's what it is. That's what we do. And it's this like scary thing. And there's all this fear of unrequited love. And It's just intense. It's intense. And it's important to flow with that in ways that are loving. And it's very, very important to balance out all that intensity and transformation with some pleasure and comfort and stability. It's very important. Balance out this eighth house with the second, balance out Scorpio with Taurus, and balance out Pluto with Venus. Because without that, you can end up just getting like swallowed in the pain, and that's not good for the nervous system, not a pleasant experience. And maybe sometimes it's unavoidable, but as I grow and learn, I find that when it comes to this sort of thing, slow is fast, and it's better to have this sense of comfort and stability within which to have these transformations when possible. Like I said, it's not always possible. Sometimes it's just really intense and shit just hurts, and that's just the way it is. Trying to escape it by, doing stuff that feels good is not always the solution. So, trust your inner compass when it comes to this kind of thing, and let your body, when in doubt, let your body lead. And I would also say that even if you feel like deep down, deep down, like this is the right person for me, this is the one, that's just your perspective. That doesn't mean that it's right for that person, and only that person can know what's right for him or her. So trust that person to know what's best for him or her, and whatever it is, accept that, and take good care of yourself. If someone doesn't want to be with you, then okay, that hurts, especially when you really, really, really want to be with that person, or you feel like it's meant to be. Like, that hurts. Okay, it hurts. Be with that, be present with that feeling, that thought, that disappointment, that crushing heartache, whatever it is. Be with it, be present with it, and love yourself through it, and take care of yourself, and know that it will get better. The grieving process does take time, but it will get better, and then someday you will be in a position to have a healthy, happy relationship again in the future. Maybe not with that person, you won't know until the time comes, but some kind of happy, healthy relationship. So, man, as hard as it is, like, the key to these Plutonian relationships is being willing to let them go. That really is the key. Now, I'm not suggesting that like, if you're fighting a lot with your boyfriend, you go say, you know what, I think we need a break. And I'm not suggesting that. If it feels right, then do it. But trust yourself that a lot of these transformations with Plutonian relationships can happen while you're holding each other. So there isn't always a need for, like, physical distance or time apart in order to have these transformations. It just kind of depends on the nature and size of the transformation. It just depends on the circumstances. So being willing to um, tune in inside and follow your inner compass, do what feels right deep down, what you have peace with, even if it hurts, you have peace with it. You just know it's the right thing. Trust that, do whatever that is. And one way or another, it'll all shake out. And, maybe, like I said, it'll take some time, but it will shake out. And I kind of feel this need to just throw in a little disclaimer here. Like, I don't have it all figured out. Like, these are some things that I've learned throughout my experiences and observations and study of astrology and just understanding in the world. I don't know much of anything at all. None of us do. Like, um, we can try to get it figured out. And we do, and we always will. That's just the nature of humans. We want to understand how stuff works. Um, and that's cool. And if it's useful, great. But I don't know. I guess I just want to interject some humility here. Like, this is just what I've seen so far and my understanding of what I've seen so far. Trust what feels right to you, and maybe in a week I'll have a different perspective on all of this. But just putting this out there is, where I am now and my current perspective. Thank you for watching. Let me know what you think.